This is Joe Wax. I am a program coordinator here at Hudson County Office of Cultural Affairs, and we're here tonight to talk about the fiscal year 2018 Hudson County Partnership History Partnership Program, HCHPP. We'll just call it CHIP for short. So this is for the program starting January 1, 2018 through the end of 2018, December 31st. So I don't know how Steve Welsh is on the call. I think he's familiar with the program. So this is for those of you who know about LAP, the local arts program that we run. This is similar to that program, but it's different in that we only offer one type of grant. And that's a project support grant. So there's no general operating support and there's no technical assistance. This is strictly for programming. And the main reason we do that is because of the amount of money we get. Who's got the dog?
Halloweeners are coming.
Yeah, I hear you.
I'll put you on mute.
Yeah, no problem. The main reason is because the amount of money we get from the historical commission, it's a lot less than we get for LAP from the arts commission. So that being said, I think what we'll do is we'll go through the main parts of the guidelines. I'm not gonna read them verbatim. You're available to you on the site on Zoom Grants, and if for some reason you don't know where to find the application, you can pop me an email. But if you're on this call, the chances are that you got my multiple emails telling you how to access the application. So I'm gonna dispense with reading through the priorities of the New Jersey Historical Commission, but this is for historical programming, which is pretty broad, but at the same time it is for historical programming, and we definitely extended this opportunity to arts organizations. In fact, one of our grantees from fiscal year 17 was an arts organization, a theater company that presented a play that had a very historical aspect to it. So and also I believe City of Hoboken did a program on the songs of Sinatra, but it wasn't just the songs of Sinatra. It focused on historical context. But I'll go through more of that when I go through the what's eligible, what's not eligible. So I'll just go through the timeline really quickly. The program went live October 16th. Here, I'm going to move this down. The program went live on October 16th. Hold on, let me just make this small. There we go. The program went live on October 16th at midnight. The webinar is tonight, as you all know. The application deadline is it's actually the certification page has to be postmarked by 11:59 on November 17th, or hand delivered on Friday, November 17th, and the deadline to apply it's actually 5 p.m. on which that's a bad mistake here. 5 p.m. on Friday, November 17th, and I believe it says that everywhere else I have, but here. So that needs to be corrected. My apologies. Thursday, November 30th, I'm going to meet with a peer review panel to go over the applications, and everyone should be notified by Friday, December 15th as to the awards. Just so you know that this grant does require a final report from grant recipients. So the people who received it for fiscal year 17 this year, you have to provide me with a report, because in turn I have to report back to the Historical Commission. Okay. I guess we'll go through quickly who can apply. Hold let me just move down. Who may apply? Okay, Hudson County-based nonprofit history-related organizations. I'll spare you. You guys can read through like the details of that, but clearly, what I mean is historical-based nonprofits. The second kind of organization that can apply are units of government in Hudson County, including schools, libraries, colleges, and universities. That provide historical programming or services or activities pertaining to Hudson County or any of its municipalities. So I guess I should say that when we talk about history, we're talking about history in terms of the County of Hudson and any of its 12 municipalities. So we're not talking about New Jersey history. We're not talking about U.S. history or world history. We're talking about history as it pertains to here, which I guess probably makes sense to you all. The third type of organization that can apply are Hudson County-based arts nonprofits that I talked about just a little while ago. Just gave you some examples about the kind of arts organizations that applied and received grants last year. So, but the caveat I gave, and I'll say again, is that the arts organization, this is for the artistic history programming, such as creative history-based happenings, historically based murals, visual arts exhibits, musical arrangements or performance on historical subjects. So, yeah, and I mean, obviously these are 501c3s. Lastly, Hudson County-based business organizations, chambers of commerce, etc. I don't know if any of you on the call are those. So you're probably mostly nonprofits, arts nonprofits, municipalities, or the like. All right. Let's go. Like as I said, a final report will be due December 19th, 2018, and you do need to, you're going to need to keep track of your finances with regard to the grant, narrative activities for the entire grant period for the entire year, and obviously, like any expenses, the match, which we'll talk about, and we'll move on from there. Yeah, as I said, as I didn't say, grants, they're going to be dispersed in two payments. 75% will be paid after the contract is signed, and then the final 25% is made when the final report is received. So there's your incentive to file your final report. So let's talk about more about the program. There is the maximum you can that anyone can receive is $8,000. So we're not talking about a lot of money, but at the same time, the recipients of the grant this year were able to do or have been able to do some really terrific programming with. I don't think anybody got $8,000. Everyone received lower than that, but close to what they asked for. I will say, with the caveat, that the more people that apply, there's the potential for, the more people that apply, there's a potential that groups receive less funds, which makes sense. We get a finite amount of money from the state, so it's not to say that every applicant will receive funds, because some, once in a while you get some clunkers in there. But the peer review panel that decides on the grants, the amounts, who receives, etc. They assess. So it is a competitive grant program. Last year we didn't have a lot of takers, a lot of applicants. We're hopeful that we have more this year. But let's move on from there. So, as I said, and I need to make this clear, it's the Hudson County History Partnership Program. It awards competitive matching grants to support specific projects. As I said, it's project support related to the history of Hudson County or any of its 12 municipalities. And as I said, the one-to-one match is required, but it can be 100% of that match can be in cash, it can be in kind, or any combination thereof. So shouldn't scare people away. It can be all in kind, but it does have to be documented, as I said. The total amount of a project often exceeds the grant amount. Projects may be overmatched with additional cash and/or in-kind donations from the grantee organization. Applicants should determine the actual cost of the project before deciding on the amount of the grant request, which ensures that your organization can meet the cash requirements. So that makes sense. So I think this next thing is pretty important. I will read it, although you can read, I'm sure, all of you. But this is really the key. What kind of projects can be funded? When we're done with this, you guys can ask questions too. I should have said that at the beginning. But so I'm going to just read through these. What kind of projects can be funded? Presentation and interpretation of public information about county and local history, such as brochures describing the organization's collection, programs, or services. Public programs such as lectures, exhibitions, conferences, etc. Artistic history, programming such as creative history-based happenings, historical-based murals, visual arts exhibits, musical arrangements or performances on historical subjects inside or outside the theater can be considered for funding if at least 25% of the cost to be covered by the grant is for consultation with qualified historians on the subject matter of the project. So that's important. We want this to be, history is not fiction. History is history. So we want, it's important to the historical commission and to the county that when you're talking about history, you're really talking about history. So that's why that's a requirement. If you are doing performances or art that's related to history, that you consult with a qualified historian. And I believe, for fiscal year 2017, our recipients consulted with. We have a plethora of educational institutions, higher ed institutions in the county, like St. Peter's and say NJCU, et cetera, Hudson County Community College. So there's no dearth of historical professionals in the county to consult with. Original research and writing, bibliographical essays and historiographies. I'm not going to say that 10 times fast. Research and connection with historic preservation projects. Research that analyzes the field of Hudson County and its municipalities, Hudson County history and the history of the municipalities, such as the need for long-range planning, resource management, or heritage tourism. Oral history projects. Audio, video, or monographs. And I believe one of our recipients, a couple of our recipients the past year have done things like that. Editorial work, including the updating of important works on Hudson County and its 12 municipalities. Publications, film or videotape treatment, scripts or production. One of our recipients, who's a municipality, is working on a film on the history of the municipality, for example. Development or enhancement of websites that specifically deal with the history of Hudson County and its municipalities. I know that a couple of our recipients did that this past year. Feasibility studies or planning for large-scale projects concerning Hudson County and its municipalities. So I guess I got to receive the call from someone asking if the funds could be used for a visioning survey for the restoration of a historical cemetery. So, and the answer is yes, you can do that. But I guess the caveat, and I keep using that word here, that I would give to everybody is, in reviewing the applications, the peer panel is really going to want to see some things that are like more finite, things that people can do and things that people can see. So the more abstract that something is, like a visioning study or something, or like something like that, where it's like kind of more of a planning thing, that deals with something that's happening more down the line. Like a visioning study determines like what you're kind of planning, their vision for what is going to be in the future. I mean, you can get money for those things, but I would say that if you were to apply for something like that, you'd be probably more at a disadvantage than doing something like that's a program, like like any of the things that I previously enumerated.
So Joe, can I interrupt you for a second?
Yeah, sure, of course.
I want to tell you what Secaucus is planning on doing and see what you think about it.
Yeah, sure.
That their library, they want to invite the public to come in and bring pictures that they're going to then scan in and establish a website.
Yep.
And it's going to be the history of primarily Secaucus, but all of Hudson County. They're going to advertise in the county to do that. So they're going to ask for the max, and they're going to match it with the max by having a couple of days where they're going to collect all the photographs and then send them off site to the guy who's going to be doing the scanning.
Right. Yeah, I mean that definitely. I mean that definitely would qualify. I'm not going to comment on the merits of it, but it's definitely something that
No, you don't have to.
It would qualify. And by the way, I don't have anything to do with the judging of the applications. I just facilitate and run the programs, so you know.
Right.
But if you guys do have any questions and you don't want to ask them now, or you don't remember it now, you can always give me a call or fire me off an email. I'll be happy to get right back to you. So just
I had a question about last year we got this grant, and it was through the town. The town asked for money for establishing a website for their museum. Mm-hmm. And they have not completed that project. Does that mean that the library cannot apply for this year, or is it still okay?
They're going to have to finish it before. There's going to be a problem if they don't finish it before the end of the year. That's why I was asking about it the other day, Steve. We don't have to talk about it now, but I mean, the program, the grants are for the period from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. So
right.
That's why I'm just kind of a lot of our grant recipients for this year have already finished their projects. But yeah, I mean, I would if we can talk about this offline, but I would encourage you to encourage them to get it done.
Wrap it up. Right.
Yeah. So
okay.
I guess I'll start back with 13 surveys of historical resources or of Hudson County or its municipalities. Such a survey is a planning tool to identify, record, and evaluate historical assets and would form the foundation of a comprehensive and proactive historic preservation program. And I guess that kind of that's permissible, but I guess it goes back to what I just was saying about things you can touch and feel and things that are finite. Not to say that these are not worthwhile endeavors. They are worthwhile, but I think especially if we get a deluge with applications this year, I think the ones that have a more touchy-feely, a programmatic aspect to it will score better. That's just a hunch, and I do think we're going to get more applicants this year than we did last year, just from the response I've gotten thus far. Educational components of ceremonies, reenactments, commemorations, or anniversaries of historical events. Funds may not be used for expenses such as receptions, refreshments, theatrical performances, concerts, citations, and/or proclamations, equipment rental, or operation expenses associated with such events. I don't want to confuse you to say that I have theatrical performances there. You can do a play, like I said, but I'm just talking about this specific item about educational components of ceremonies, reenactments, commemorations, or anniversaries. Microfilming and the production of finding aids to collections, genealogical projects resulting in research tools, indices, cemetery locators, collective regional resources, publicly accessible databases of use to the wider historical community, production of CD-ROMs or other digital projects that feature original content relating to the history of Hudson County and its municipalities. Videotaping or audio taping of public programs or oral history project is permitted if transcripts, YouTube links, etc., free downloads and/or viewing or listening are available at a publicly accessible website. Does anybody have any questions right now about what kind of programs are going to be funded? You don't.
Hey, can I Joe?
Yeah. Hey, Tim.
Hey. All right.
Shoot.
So, okay. If what we're trying to do is two-pronged. The overall one is trying to maybe develop a documentary that White Eagle Hall, the history and all that kind of stuff. But in the meantime, we wanted to do what we call the stories, where they'd be oral histories, interviews of people who, right. So if we, but it's, I don't think $8,000 is going to be able to be enough for a documentary. So we were trying to do it in two phases. Would that be acceptable? In other words, what?
No, we should probably talk about it offline. I mean, the thing is, like I said before, is like, we encourage organizations to more so with LAP, but somewhat with this, we encourage recipients to do other fundraising besides what you receive from here. So I mean, there's clearly there's a monetary aspect from us. There's a match aspect from you. But if you can't accomplish the project based on what we give you, I would say it's probably not a great project. I mean, there are
project
things
would be more in phases. So
I
think.
But if it could be like a finite phase,
got it.
Like I said, some of the things I talked about in what can be funded are clearly things that are studies and things like that, things that are in phases. But I would say if it's like a project that's not going to be done, it's going to be tough for people to, I think it's going to be tougher for the peer panel to chew on. But we could talk about it offline. We don't have to talk about it here.
Actually, you answered the question without realizing, and I have a second question. So if somebody, if you do a event that is related to this, can can admission be charged, or even as a donation, and perhaps used for fundraising as well?
Absolutely, and yes, absolutely, and you'll see in the we encourage that. I mean, we don't tell people they have to do that, but I mean, of course, it's a way organizations raise money. So that's clearly that would be included as a part of your match. And like I said, you can overmatch. You don't have to doesn't have to be one for one. All right, so
can I, a real quick one? Do you have any?
Yeah, sure.
What is there an average percentage of the total grant that people are receiving? Is it
I'm not
70,
sure.
80%?
Not sure. Well, it was different. Like I said, for this past year, I'm not entirely sure what you're asking, but for the past year, we didn't have. I'd say that the people got close to what they were asking for because there wasn't. We didn't reject a lot of applicants, and we didn't get a lot of applicants, so people got close to what they it was based on merit. So I mean, people got close to what they the best applicants got close to what they asked for. But like I said, the more people that apply, then it's going to be a tougher decision for the peer review panel. So I don't know if that answers your question or not.
No, that's okay. That's right.
Okay.
A better way to
answer
this.
I mean, it's yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is Pat Cullen. I'm not sure if you were done with the previous caller.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
It's like the LAP grant. Like it said that because of there's so many people applying. I think it was like 90%. I'm wondering, is it really just based on the number of people applying, or will there be other things?
Well, I mean, I guess it's just like a lot of things in life. It depends. I mean, if we get let's say we get 100 applicants and 99 of them are garbage, that but the max you can get is $8,000, then the one that's really good, there's a good chance they're going to get $8,000. But this program is only the second year we're doing it, so there's not a huge track record to say average. I mean, like I said, last year we didn't have a lot of applicants. The ones we did get were really good, and they got funded close to what they were asking for, and we only had to reject a couple. So. Go ahead, Pat. You were going to ask a question.
Yes, Joe. Thank you very much. And thanks for all that are here. You may have covered my question earlier, and I apologize. I'm not that computer literate at 58. I'm a 20th century guy in a 21st century world. But the question would be, you may have covered this already. Do I have to complete the project before the calendar year is up or something? I'm anticipating writing a history of West New York, and it might not be done in a year. I mean, does it have to be done in...
Well, it does, but I mean, it could be, if it's like a project that's like a long-term project that can be done in phases, then that's a different story. But yeah, I mean, if it's something you're not going to complete in a year, it's probably not a good candidate for this grant, because we're looking for us and for the people in your municipalities or who your organization serve to get the best bang for their buck. So there are, I think that. Hopefully that answers your question. If you want to,
yes, it does. So now I can move on to another question. We are celebrating our 120th anniversary, so I would key towards number 4, into what kinds of projects can be funded to, update our history and with original research and writing, and of course I do see for the kinds of expenses that are covered, I would probably focus on number 11, typesetting, printing, and binding. My question for the matching funds, could my salary as a paid historian be considered as a matching fund if the time is being applied towards this project?
So I don't know if it was you or someone from your municipality called me and asked the question, but I did call the Historical Commission, and salaries are a permissible expense as long as the salary is going to specifically to the project that you're applying for.
Right. In other words, I'll be getting paid. I want to be sure I understand you correctly. But the time I utilize while the salary I'm earning will be going to achieve this goal. But in other words, it's not like I have to give up my paycheck and donate it to something. I can get to keep my money, right?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, salaries for the specific project are as a permissible expense.
As a matching, I greatly appreciate that.
No problem.
With my commissioner as well as the town administrator to determine, which way the town wants to go with this. But I'm very grateful that I have this opportunity, and thanks, Joe.
No problem. So let's move on to what kind of expenses are covered. I'll just read through them. Microfilming, travel expenses with the following limits: automobile travel 31 cents per mile, archival or research library user fees, oral history tape transcription, wages or stipends for project personnel such as conservators, curators, educational consultants, and researchers, speakers honoraria. I'm not going to. You can read the rest of that part yourself, but it's with qualification. Supplies to be used in the project, such as audio tapes, videotapes, storage materials, office supplies, materials for educational projects, materials for fabricating and installing exhibitions, payment of fees for touring exhibitions or the costs related to exhibitions loaned out to another entity, archival folders, boxes, other materials for conservation of historical materials, typesetting, printing and binding, photography and photocopying, production of promotional and advertising materials. Who may not apply? Agencies of federal state government, organizations or individuals who have received a grant from the Historical Commission have failed to submit a final report. That's not really applicable here since this is only the second year. Organizations engage in active project funded by the Historical Commission. Organizations that do not practice policies of equal access or non-discrimination. I don't think that's anybody that we're dealing with. Okay, I think this is important. What is ineligible, and I'll just bang through these quick. Projects do not relate to the history of Hudson County or any of its municipalities. That's common sense. Project work that is completed before the submission of the application cannot be funded with a CHIP grant. So, for example, a request to typeset and printed a completed manuscript is eligible. A request to pay for an author who produced the manuscript after the manuscript has already been produced is not. So it can't be something that you've already done, is the point. Restoration or preservation of structures cannot be funded with a CHIP grant. We're not looking for we're not looking to pay for capital expenses is the point. Purchases of collections, furniture, costumes, artifacts, or other items for collections. Construction, restoration, preservation of gravestones, commemorative statues, plaques, and other items. Projects of federal, state government agencies cannot be funded with this grant. Conservation materials owned by the federal government. Conservation of collections of unidentified photographs. Projects which are not accessible to the public. I think you can. The theme is here. You all can see is that it's pretty commonsensical about what can't be published, which can't be funded. I'm sorry. Publication of coloring books, cookbooks, and calendars. Genealogical projects of specific families, unless the applicant can demonstrate the usefulness of the project to the understanding of Hudson County. I think that makes sense. Videotaping or audio taping of public programs or oral history interviews without the production of transcripts to be made public, to be made accessible to the public. So you have to make them accessible to the public is the point. Capital projects, we already covered that. Purchase of books or prepackaged instructional materials, unless the applicant can demonstrate such expenditures are warranted. Trophies, prizes, scholarships, hospitality, food and beverage, HCHPP grants cannot be used to pay for or support fundraising events for the recipient organization or as a donation to another organization. And lastly, you cannot fund field trips. The narrative, we'll look at the application in a second. I'm not going to, you guys can read this like you can read all the things a lot of what I've been saying. But the narrative is really the heart of the application, like it says right there. 7,500 characters is about 2.5, a little less than 2.5. I think 3,000 characters is a page. I think. Am I right? Does anybody know that? Anyway, 7,500 characters is ample. So I mean, it's very specific here. We made it pretty idiot-proof in terms of what we would like you to talk about. The application does require a budget narrative. This is the financial narrative. The narrative. So you're basically you're kind of putting your budget is numbers, which is a chart in the application, and this kind of puts the meat on the bones about what you're asking for. This is important. I'll just stress this. The budget. In filling out your budget, please remember that earned income, and I think this goes to what you're talking about, Tim, ticket sales, cash donations, plus in-kind income, free rent, donated costumes, etc., plus the grant amount you're asking for should equal the cost of the project. For example, your project costs $20,000. You receive a $7,000 grant from the county, so you have a difference of $16,000, which you would need to make up with any combination of, it should be 7,000, should be 13,000, which you need to make up with any combination of earned income and in-kind income. I think that's pretty clear. So, any questions before you just look at the application quickly?
Yes, we'll be able to print everything that we're looking on the screen right now, the 12 pages that you read. I'm trying to print it, but I'm not having any success with it.
Yeah, but Steve, it's all available. I should say that the guidelines are in the application. So if you go,
okay,
we'll go to the application now.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So this is the application form. So if you go to actually, if you look at right here, there's a click on right there. This is what your screen's going to look like. There's a I don't know what you call these things. There's a
tabs.
Why isn't it
yeah, I see what you're talking about, tabs or whatever. Right? Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, so you just click on that, and then you can print them out from there.
Okay, thanks. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Okay. So let's go to, why is it? All right, hold on one sec. Why is this not cooperating with me? All right. Okay. So the application, it's pretty idiot-proof. I should say. So if you do have questions about the substance of the application, you can definitely call me or email me, whatever. If you do have questions about, like, if there's a technical issue, the number is in this application about 100 times for Zoom grants, and they're our vendor that does the application. So and they're very responsive. So if there's a glitchy thing with the application, which there shouldn't be, contact them. If you have substantive questions about the application, contact me. The application starts with a program summary, just like information about your organization. The pre-application. So you go through this. There's a branching question here. You have to be a nonprofit, like we talked about. Obviously a municipality is a nonprofit. You just go through that question there and click all the ones that are applicable. You need to provide proof of your 501c3 or 501c4 status. Municipalities don't really have to do that. You have to be in existence for at least 1 year as of January 1, 2017. Which we want. Obviously we love new organizations, but we want there to be a track record of an organization before they go for a grant like this. Then you go to the application questions. What type of organization? Please describe the focus of your organization. Obviously, if you're a unit of government, that's self-explanatory, but you need to write that in there. And then there's the narrative. And I say here.
So can I ask a quick question before you get to the narrative?
Yeah, Tim.
Because so our organization is an arts organization, but we want to do this history project. How should that be conveyed in number 2's essay?
We should probably talk about it offline, because I do have a question about the difference between JCTC and White Eagle.
Okay.
So we don't have to go through it now, but let's talk about it, because I was thinking about that when I think based on the conversation that you and I had the other day. So let's talk about that. Just give me a call tomorrow and we'll talk about it.
Got it.
All
Thanks.
Right, cool. Yep, no problem. So the narrative, and then I refer to pages 10 and 11 of the guidelines, which spells out pretty much everything you need to have in your narrative. As any of you know that applied for a LAP, we require an ADA plan, Americans with Disabilities Act plan. We don't require it here. The Historical Commission does not require it, and hence we don't require it. But we do talk about accessibility. We want the programs to be accessible to as wide an audience as possible, as diverse an audience as possible. So talk about your accessibility plan. That gives you the opportunity to do that there. number 5 is self-explanatory. You'll see that. And then the budget narrative I talked about. And then there's the budget. It's simpler, much simpler than LAP. I think I spelled it out really pretty easily. So take a look at it. I'm not going to go through line by line but if you have questions about the budget, give me a call. And then there's the documents that to be provided by applicant. So your mission statement. It says here, if you're a government, you don't have to, or a educational institution, you don't have to supply that. But as you'll see here, then if it doesn't apply, the mission statement does not apply to you, then you have to just upload this template here. You upload it, you save it to your desktop or wherever, and then you upload it upload it here. We can talk about, if you have questions about that, we can talk about it. It's pretty simple. Copy of your nonprofit incorporation, your New Jersey nonprofit incorporation, your 501c3 designation, or your designation, your status pending letter if you have applied for 501c3 designation but haven't yet received it. 5 support materials depicting recent and/or current activities your group has undertaken. Pretty self-explanatory. And then you have to give us the hard copy of your certification page, which has to be hand delivered or postmarked by the deadline, which is November 17th. It's got to be signed in blue ink. That's pretty much that's that. Is there any questions? And I didn't mean to fly through this fast, but I think I covered everything, and I'm happy to answer any questions. If there's no questions, then we can end this, and you guys can deal with trick-or-treaters or go out and trick-or-treat. When I scheduled this, I don't have any kids, so when I scheduled this, I didn't even think about the fact that this is Halloween. But I appreciate you guys, your participation in this and getting on here. And like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to give me a holler. I'm happy to answer any questions you have. And with that, we can dispense with the meeting. I appreciate everybody participating. Thanks. Have a great night.
Thanks, Joe.
All right. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Talk
Bye-bye.
to you later.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.